me talk about some movies. How's it going, everybody? This is the skinny white guy with a high voice speaking, and how you all doing? I just want to say thank you all for spending the next 15 to 30 minutes of your life just listening to me chat, ramble about my favorite films of the last 10 years right over here. These are just my personal preferences because you might be into Marvel movies or comic book movies or sad, depressing movies, which these are more of the latter. Or just me describing these movies might sound like the most pretentious movies you ever heard in your life. But maybe we can reach a common ground where maybe you can be persuaded to watch some of these movies that I am recommending or just talking about. They mean something to me, they might not mean anything to you, and that's okay. Film is subjective. And if I really wanted to go off the rails, I would include Michael Jackson, This Is It, on my top 10. I'll probably put it down as number 1, but except that film came out in 2009, so that would be cheating. A mixture of these movies I have experienced at the theaters or just right in my own room. So like, I haven't really watched movies religiously till around 2014 after I got done with high school, but there's plenty of movies beforehand that I will bring up on this list, so it doesn't have to be like only restricted to just what I watch at the theaters. Like, that'd be kind of boring. And I have totally not seen every movie, as some of you may believe, that came out in the last 10 years. And if I have seen a lot of it, obviously I would have enough to do like a top worst, like 100 movies that came out in the last decade, because obviously there's been a lot of crap that came out in the last 10, well actually there's always been a crappy movie that came out ever since the beginning of cinema, essentially. And now I'm going to get straight to my honorable mentions, which are quite a bit of them. Starting with Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, Guardians of the Galaxy has been pretty significant to how I started like getting into movies and watching it as both entertainment and as an art form. Before I even watched Guardians of the Galaxy, I did not give a crap about movies in general. Never did. I don't know why. And when I heard about this movie and saw that Dave Bautista was cast as Drax, the blue muscular beefy man, I was just completely turned off by it. I was like, no, this film is gonna suck. I hate Dave Bautista. Which just goes to show how much of a good actor he is. Like, he was a super heel towards like the end of his WWE run, like months before he was in the Guardians of the Galaxy. He did a good job at making me hate him in the ring and outside the ring. So I just thought, man, this movie's gonna suck. So I was doing something and I saw the thumbnail for a review of the movie. And I was like, I'll check it out. They really paid attention to who reviewed the movie. As I was working on it, I started hearing the person talk, and I slowly looked at my phone, and I was like, wait, is that Shane Dawson reviewing Guardians of the Galaxy? Based off the tone of the voice, but nope. It was a YouTube reviewer by the name of Chris Duckman, which some of you movie fans might be familiar with if you've watched his videos throughout the years, because he has reviewed plenty of like blockbusters. A lot of his videos have over 1 million views. Listening to his review really just, I don't know, something just struck with me like, wow, he did a good job reviewing this movie. Made it sound like it's like a transcendent experience. And I started watching his other reviews and I was like, wow. It's like, movies can be kind of like a religious experience. And I haven't even seen any of these movies yet, but it's like, man, I gotta go watch these movies. So I went ahead, went to the theater with my friend Mark, and I sort of vlogged a little bit. After I stopped vlogging, we about got hit by a semi, and he was yelling at them, "Idiot!" Went ahead and watched the movie and realized the guy was right. It was a good movie. Then watched plenty of other movies that he's talked about, like older movies he was reviewing at the time. Like Seven, which was a lineup to him reviewing this director's catalog up till he was going to watch the director's work that was coming out later on that year called Gone Girl, and that's on the list. And in the process, I rediscovered my love of storytelling, which I sadly abandoned years prior. And ever since then, I decided like, hey, maybe I can like go into like screenwriting, like for Hollywood. And ever since then, I've just been coming up with all these story ideas, which I hope are good, and plus spending all my college funds on all these movies right here, that, as you can see. So yeah, thank you Guardians of the Galaxy and Chris Stuckman for making me a movie lover. And also the dude's great. We talked a few times and he was kind enough to answer a question of mine on a podcast or interview he was on years back on the Josh McCouga show, which I'll show you right here. Oh boy. I should have double checked that before mentioning it, but I tried to find that video and to my surprise, it was actually set to private. So all that exists of it now is just that screenshot. But I think I remember his response on the interview to my question was what he hated to be asked the most was what were his favorite movies? And obviously to a lot of people who are into movies, their favorite movies always changes all the time. It never stays the same. So that was a pet peeve of his and all that jazz. But I think somewhere else in the interview he also said that he hates it when people say bless you after he sneezes. And yeah.
Bless you, Chris Stuckman.
Shut up!
Oh, and plus Chris Stuckman is an aspiring film director, which, hey Chris, if you happen to be watching this video and you need to direct some scripts, I'm your guy. And now for my other honorable mentions right here.
So, this isn't in any particular order, but I would love to give some love to these honorable mentions, such as Mad Max Fury Road, Creed, Deadpool, Hacksaw Ridge, The Nice Guys, Argo, Looper, Hereditary, and The Revenant, where Leonardo DiCaprio eats a fish.
Starting with Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. I had the pleasure of seeing this movie in the theaters when they re-released it before they released the fifth one in the franchise, Rogue Nation. Personally, this is my favorite out of the two. Now, number 49, Mud, starring Matthew McConaughey. This is what I would call like an instant classic. It's about like two young boys finding a man on the run, Matthew McConaughey's character, and they don't know why, but they kind of like they're charmed by the man. And he's there for mysterious reasons. Won't spoil why, but it's a great movie. Check it out. Number 48, 50-50. Great movie. A funny movie about somebody dealing with the dark realities of cancer, but the character played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt finds the humor in it. It's kind of like the film The Martian, except this came out a couple years earlier, where both characters were kind of like in a dire situation. One dealing with cancer, the other one on The Martian is a guy just stranded on Mars, basically left to die. Now the next one up is Blue Valentine, starring Ryan Gosling and Michelle Williams. And this is one of those interesting love stories where it's both, well, it's kind of like two stories, where the first half is the start of their relationship, and the second storyline is basically their divorce. And it's both intertwined where it's non-linear, but both parts are equally impactful, and the director and Ryan Gosling were kind of considering just making a movie just based off of like the start of the relationship, because even that was a joy to watch. But a really devastating movie to watch. I have heard that this will cause people to break up. If you decide to watch this on Valentine's Day, go watch something else instead, like Spaceballs. I don't know. Next up, Sicario, with Emily Blunt, Benicio del Toro, and Josh Brolin, aka Thanos. This is probably one of my most anticipated films when it came out in 2015. I love the director's work, Denis Villeneuve. This film is essentially about Emily Blunt's character, who's recruited to go join Josh Brolin's and Benicio's character on this raid to the border to find and assassinate a drug lord. They do have their own motives. She's completely left out in the blue. And really, really suspenseful movie. Nail-biting. The scene where they're on the bridge where, like, if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. The shootout scene happens, something goes wrong, the music is eerie, the cinematography is fantastic. Love it. And now on to the same guy's next work, Enemy, starring Jake Gyllenhaal. Now this came out in 2014, so the year before Sicario came out. Oh, and also, by the way, Sicario is Spanish for hitman. Now, this is probably like one of the more experimental films on the whole list. It's not a traditional structure movie where you can probably not understand what's going on, but it's fairly short, like 90 minutes, so it's not too much of a headache. But it's not a headache in the slightest. But if you want to watch a movie that makes you think, the ending, which will probably make you go, I gotta watch it again, then this is the film for you. And Jake Gyllenhaal is fantastic in this movie. Number 44, Silver Linings Playbook. I've actually not seen this in a while, but I do remember that Bradley Cooper killed it. Jennifer Lawrence was a lovable, crazy person. And plus, he's also kind of like insane too, but it's like a progression of seeing two characters who can relate, like dealing with their mental illness. I want to say bipolar disorder, possibly, and seeing them progress and leads to like a really heartfelt ending. And I might actually check this out. I remember really liking this movie. But anyways, check this out if you're a fan of these two, especially Jennifer Lawrence. Next up, The Grand Budapest Hotel, directed by Wes Anderson. This is a very imaginative movie, and if you know anything about the guy, he is very, very creative. I'm probably going to butcher it, but like Mr. Fox, the one movie with George Clooney, stop motion animation. I'm pretty sure you're probably all familiar with it. But this is the only film of his I've seen, but just looking at the guy's choreography, like it looks like those are kind of like in my field house, because it's kind of like watching this, like there's like a lot of effort, a lot of attention to detail. Everybody had a great character. Hilarious also too. And number 42, The Wolf of Wall Street, starring Leonardo DiCaprio. This was a really insane movie. Over 3 hours long, I think. Well, a minute under 3 hours. But that's also the purpose of this movie, is to show the negative sides of this type of lifestyle with Leonardo DiCaprio's character and going into the stock market and totally getting lost in the fame, the women, the money, drugs, which result in some of the funniest scenes in the movie when Leonardo and Jonah Hill. And Jonah Hill's character, who are experiencing like a bad trip, basically. But it's hysterical, really funny movie. If you can have the time to watch a 3 hour movie. And now for number 41, I don't own this one currently, but this one might actually be the most controversial pick on this list. But probably not what you're thinking. So it wasn't that long ago when I watched The Joker, and I practically made a review about it on here, which if you have not watched it, go check it out. But overall, good movie, disturbing, all in the right ways. But I think Joaquin Phoenix, who plays as the Joker, has a much better role that completely blows this performance like out of the water. And that one I'll get to very soon.